Hi everyone, welcome to our presentation. We're so excited to get to do this repeat presentation for you today. This was actually a presentation that we gave at the Child Nutrition Conference in April of 2019 in Chicago, and we just had such positive feedback about the session, and we had quite a few people reach out to us and say that they missed it and asked if there was some sort of recording. So we decided to offer it as a webinar learning opportunity. A little bit about us at Link2Feed. So we are a social enterprise tech company. While we are a for-profit business, we are a certified B Corporation. And so that really means that we have an overarching social mission to serve organizations with a hunger and poverty-oriented mission. So we build all of our technology in partnership with our clients. You can see over on the right on my screen, it has our B Corp score. So our current score is 126. The certifying standard is 80, so we're quite a bit above that. And actually the median score of most folks who apply is just around 51. So most organizations that apply to be a B Corp are not able to become one because the standards are so rigorous. As part of our certification, we were actually honored in both 2017 and 2018 as one of B Corporation's best for the world companies, which means we are top ranking among B Corps all around the world. We currently serve a lot of different types of nonprofits and public sector organizations, and one of our clients, who's actually a food bank, mentioned to us this challenging program they are operating called CACFP, and in the summer they moved over to SFSP. And they were sharing that they are spending hours on paperwork, that the paper forms they would get back were always wrong, that they were missing reimbursements, that meals were being wasted, that it was really hard for them to get all of the information to submit claims on time, and that audits were extremely stressful. I'm sure some of you experienced the same challenges. And ultimately, what everyone's been feeling like is that it feels like you're herding cats, getting all of the paperwork together, dealing with sometimes hundreds of independent sites in a community. And so they asked us if we would be able to help to find a better solution. So we built a system that's extremely easy to use to go 100% paperless at point of service. So as long as someone is able to tap a screen, they are able to use Link2Feed. Everything is color-coded, it's really visually appealing, and it's incredibly, incredibly simple. This system actually can be used on any device as well, as long as they have access to the internet, whether that's through Wi-Fi, hotspot, or 3G. So you can see one of our users in a school here. Everything in Link2Feed is available in the palm of your hand. And we are really excited to announce that we have an offline version that will be coming in the fall of this year. So sites who do not have a consistent internet signal will be able to use Link2Feed offline. This system also helps to automate compliance. So it will trigger if there are any pieces of missing information. It will ensure that signatures are filled in. Anytime someone accesses or changes a meal service, there's a log. It makes sure everything adds up properly and requires meals to be served within their designated time frame. So one of our clients said to me once, 1 + 1 really will equal 2. The system also gives full oversight to sponsors. So this is the sponsor view here. You're able to see all of the different sites and all of their meal services in real time. So you can see any meal service that's in progress, anything that's completed, or on the example here, you can see a site that has actually missed recording a meal. And then you're also able to pull reports in real time. So the system will take all of your information and will aggregate it for you. So you can see details like how much waste or carryover meals. You could also automate your racial and ethnic data reporting that's required once a year. And then, of course, all of the data that you need to submit your claims. This system also really helps with audit support. So we store all of your meal services in the cloud. We give you the ability to auto-download all the files that you need for an audit, and you can rest assured that when your audit comes, everything is going to add up. So it really cuts back on audit prep time. We've also received a lot of great feedback from auditors, and we actually had a client let us know that their most recent audit went from what was normally a 3-day process down to a 1-day process. One of the other things we kept hearing from our partners was that they also wanted a feature to help do menu planning. So we're excited to announce a menu planning partnership with HealthyPro that's coming in the winter of this year. So we will be able to integrate HealthyPro's great menu planning features directly into Link2Feed. And we do have some folks on the call from HealthyPro today also, if anyone has any questions. So that's just a little bit about Link2Feed. I am going to unmute Veronica from City Square, who's going to chat a little bit about how Link2Feed has impacted her organization in her role at City Square. Take it away, V.
Hi, thanks. That was a great intro. So before we were using Link2Feed, everything was done paper by hand. And what we were seeing is that it was just was slowing us down. We have about 40, actually more like 65 CACFP sites now, and about 165 SFSP sites. So we're doing this year round. Our program's been around about 30 years, and I've been with our department working on the nutrition side since 2009. So I've seen a lot of evolution come through, but nothing quite like Link2Feed. We've tried different methods in the previous years to stay organized, to make sure people were turning the right forms in on the right days, and they were filling it out correctly. A lot of times people would get confused when they were wrapping up after school and going into summer. We were still getting meal count forms on the after school meal count form instead of the summer form, and vice versa. Like for summer would end and we would still be getting after school meal forms on the summer count form. Like, oh wow, they're really trying. And then some of our programs, they have nowhere to store all this paper. They have to store it for 3 years, right? So that became a problem. And then also the meal waste from lack of what we're calling real-time info. By the time that they finish their meal service, send us the form, email us how many meals they serve, what they need for tomorrow, we've already missed our deadline to place an order for the vendor for the next day. But with Link2Feed, we're seeing it in real time as it's going on. So we have way more accurate numbers. And the other thing that really helps with real-time data is that if a site, like for example this week, our summer food program kicked off. Some of our sites, their meal time, let's say it's from 12 to 1. I noticed they logged in at 11. I was like, well, we don't get reimbursed for those meals that you served outside your TDA-approved meal time. Text from agriculture, by the way. I forget that not everyone is from Texas here. So they quickly said, oh, we're so sorry. We just went ahead and logged in. We didn't count anything, but we know from now on. So I'm able to correct those issues before it becomes a bigger problem. Sometimes if I notice that things are being counted incorrectly or we just need to do a little bit of tweaking, again, I can catch it much earlier. So with paper forms, I was having to take stuff home at night. So this is really shortened up my work hours. I can do more effective ordering, and just the meal service there and here is not dependent on just one person anymore. They could have many people doing their meal service, especially if they're a large organization. Let's say 300 kids in many different rooms of one school or one facility. Different people can be in Link2Feed all at the same time, and it shows up on their phone or their tablet or laptop, again, in real time. So if I'm in one room logging in the pre-K and kindergartners meals, Susie Q could be down the hallway with the second graders logging in meals, and we all see it on our phones at the same time. That was huge. It's also, I can check it remotely. I don't have to be at my desk. I can be in DC, I can be in New York, and I can be checking Link2Feed. I'm getting paperwork in, and it also helps me control waste, because another amazing feature of Link2Feed is that you can pull reports, you can pull data pretty quick, and you can see at a glance if one site is going to have too much waste before the end of the month, and you can get a jump on that. Another thing is, again, when we get back to the compliance errors, we've really cut down on that just because I'm able to help them faster. Or if they have questions, they're noticing it faster, like, oh, wait a second. And it makes them see what their waste actually looks like. If they got 50 meals, they serve 25, it's not just some ethereal number that's out floating around somewhere. They can see it on their LinkedIn. Like, oh, wow, I just wasted 25 meals. And it really makes an improvement on the program integrity of the program. For example, like at the beginning of this slide, I think it said we had 40. Can we go back a slide? So we had 40 CACFP programs. But there we go, 40 CACFP sites. But since she created this slide and to the time right now, we've gone up to about 65 programs because I'm not having to spend nearly as much time chasing down paperwork. I'm able to help more kids get fed just through technology. And I think that's pretty amazing.
Awesome. Thanks, V.
Yeah. Oh, you're welcome. And they don't pay me to say this stuff either.
Yeah, true. That is very true. We actually joke, Veronica pays us to use the system. And
Yeah.
she wants to share this.
Yeah. That's right.
All right. Well, I will pass it over to Tyler, and then Veronica, when we get to Q&A, I will unmute you again in case anyone has any specific questions for you.
Great. Thanks.
All right, Tyler, you're unmuted. Take it away.
Thank you. I'm Tyler Herman. I work for the Blue Ridge Area Food Bank in Central Virginia, and just wanted to provide a little bit of background context on our mission, sort of the scope of our work, and then how these two initiatives fit into that scope, and how Link2Feed has really helped us move forward on in a lot of ways beyond just CACFP and SFSP. So our food bank, it's a branch-based system. I know a lot of food banks are coming onto this software, so I thought giving a little food bank context might be helpful for the larger picture for those curious food banks, and how it might fit into your mission. So we're serving 25 counties. Because of that largely rural area, we have a branch system. We've got 4 different branches, and within those 4 branches, we have what's called a partner services coordinator. That is the liaison between the food bank and our soup kitchens, our partner agencies, our homeless shelters, as well as coordinating 8 programs. So these staff members have quite a lot on their plate, and the administrative side of managing CACFP and SFSP was really sort of putting a burden on staff time that was pulling us away from other strategic priorities and investing the needed time in building stronger relationships with other program sites, or investing in capacity building with some of our other partners. And I'll get into that in a bit. We currently have 26 sites, so 18 SFSP sites and 8 CACFP sites, so a lot smaller of a footprint than other food banks and programs. And mainly that's a result of that largely rural area. We're not like other food banks where we're able to have a central kitchen to prepare and distribute meals, and then the vending options in our service area are limited, and many of them are very cost prohibitive, where they're looking for contracted hours for cooks to be paid $25 an hour to prepare meals when we're on such a small scale, and then moving that food across these large swaths of territory at our service area. It's not feasible to have sort of a centralized vending model, and even a piecemeal vending model. There'd be inefficiencies there. So the way our model is set up is for we acquire Cisco foods, primarily frozen meal components, and then sites are prepping. So that also limits the number and scope of how we can expand our program. But now I'm going to get into sort of that cat herding, the challenges of managing the administrative side of the program, and why that sort of has limited our growth, and then how that's changed since migrating to Link2Feed, which I think is just a stellar system for managing this process. So like other places, we're using a paper-based process. Even with the limited number of sites we had like 16 of those large, giant, oversized binders that you really only see in like law libraries or in like 1980s CIA crime shows. So we were using that. So just a ton of paperwork that was coming in from meal counts, from the weekly consolidated meal counts, all the additional spreadsheets in Excel that you had to use to then consolidate and analyze that to prepare your claims. It was just an administrative burden where those 4 different PSCs in those different localities were very stretched within the program. So there were areas that we were out of compliance and had deficiencies in our audit in previous years just because of the sort of how stretched those staff members were in maintaining the compliance of that program. There's very much mixed capacity at sites, so we'd have turnover or addition of new sites, and to do the training and the hand-holding at the get-go, or you'd have turnover in volunteers at those sites midway through the season, to then go through all of the back and forth on how paper should be correctly filled out and maintained, and that aspect of it was frustrating and sort of a administrative burden in maintaining a successful program. Manual data entry. You had sites that were incorrectly entering information, and it's as simple as them not filling in the right site name or address, or putting X's on the meal count instead of the hash marks, and just very simple things that, while these federal programs are great and we all benefit from it and we're all grateful for it, there is that sort of administrative side, the bureaucracy, the red tape, that perfection of how that paperwork has to be created to be in compliance to claim those meal counts. So that was one area where we saw a limitation in growth and how much time we could invest in really expanding these programs. The claims preparation, again, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer and say the whole program is frustrating, but to then take those weekly meal counts and ensure they're accurately filled out, and then consolidate that into a separate Excel spreadsheet and tally that all up would often take one of our staff members a week to prepare across all those different localities, with chasing down paper and making sure all the correct information was in place before being able to submit a claim. So that took up a lot of staff time. The audits was the same deal. Then going back, even though we did it on a monthly basis to check for accuracy, we would then sift through it with a fine-tooth comb when that audit came around, sift through those 16 binders. So audit prep used to take us a week to prepare for, to make sure we had the pieces in place. And again, all that just administrative oversight really pulled us away from looking at the broader potential of how we might expand this program, and then pulling us away from the food bank's greater strategic priorities on best addressing the needs of children, seniors, families across those 25 counties. So we moved to Link2Feed. We became aware of it about 2.5 years ago, and it was like the skies opened up, and the sun shined finally, and the rain clouds were gone. And having a fully digital process, where everything is streamlined into one application, it connects particularly well with a lot of the sites where we're working with, where it's a Parks and Rec site or a Boys and Girls Club or a YMCA, where usually their summer staff are a lot younger. They're already doing everything digital in their lives. So to transition to an easy, very user-friendly platform, it was a quick transition where they would pick it up a lot quicker. We even had folks in their 60s at sites that had never touched a computer, didn't do email, didn't go on Facebook to talk to their grandkids, who very, very easy for them to pick this up, and great that it's functional across every different technology platform to be able to be used. So that allows some flexibility in the site not having to acquire a computer. They can use their smartphone or tablet. The real-time information, super helpful again. Just reiterating what Veronica said, to be able to check in on a compliance angle to ensure that your sites are accurately serving during the times that they're supposed to. Another really cool thing, if you have a site where you have potentially multiple lines where that meal service is being tracked on paper at those multiple lines, you're then having to consolidate that into a uniformed meal count sheet. So Link2Feed allows multiple users within a meal service to open up that platform and track meal counts live, and it all consolidates into that one unified meal service and then save. So you don't have to do that follow-up consolidation of information. The accuracy was huge, not a user not being able to move forward to start a meal service until that baseline data on the number of meals received, the temperature of the meal, the temperature of the milk, how many leftover meals from the day before, a lot of those data points that are useful for planning and to ensure that you have that in the paperwork. We would run into a lot of issues previously on paper, and the fact that those are required fields and that intake worker can't move forward until that's done, that removes that layer of having to follow up with sites to make sure that they're properly putting things in. So kind of on the back end automatically is training them to remember to put that stuff in. The audit prep, Link2Feed has made it very easy where you can send the support team a request saying, hey, I would like a bulk download of CACFP or SFSP for these specific dates, and they download it, they send you a zip file, and then you're just able to put that on a flash drive or pull it up on your computer for your auditor to pull up those meal services. So again, not having to sift back through binders and ensure that you have all the proper paperwork in place. All of that is there, right? And they're all properly filled out. So you don't even really need to go back and review any of that. You just need to have that data available to them. And the ease of all of that, all of those benefits, has allowed us to now respond to an unexpected grant opportunity where there was sort of residual state funding on the plate, where we came to the table, we requested it, and they said, that they'd like a large portion of that to go to expansion of CACFP and SFSP. Previously, we likely would have turned that funding down because of that administrative burden, but now with the ease of programming, that removes that layer, and we can focus on growth, and we could easily respond and accept that grant to rise at that moment to expand that program. So many benefits that I see. If you are contemplating this, the pros are immense here for being able to just streamline, simplify, make it easier for your staff, reduce administrative staff time, and put smiles on everyone's face. And just speaking of smiles, I wanted to talk about the culture of Link2Feed, the work culture there, the friendliness and responsiveness of the staff. Anytime we have a request, typically it's within a half an hour to an hour where we're receiving a response. So with that in-the-moment troubleshooting or an issue at a site or a glitch in the system, which rarely occurs, they're very, very responsive to putting their support team on it to fix it very, very quickly. So that's something that I haven't experienced with a lot of other tech companies that we've worked with. So just the ability for them to troubleshoot and really be there to support, and they're all very, very friendly. Just overall, I think Link2Feed is a really great fit, and I would advise anyone looking to move into a digital space to really look at all of those benefits when you're weighing that against some of the other software platforms out there.
Awesome. Thanks, Tyler. Well, I will put you back on mute for just a couple more minutes. And I know a lot of you are looking forward to seeing the system in action to learn a bit more about what it does. So we're going to go through that quickly so that you can see it live, and then we will take a pause so that we can go through any questions that anyone has. Just 1 second here. Awesome. Well, everyone should be able to see the screen. It should say, please select the organization you're logging into. So as I mentioned earlier, the system is set up to be networked. So you have the sponsor who's really at the top of the network managing things, and then each of the sites below. I'll start first showing you the site view of the system. As we chatted about earlier, the system is fully mobile friendly. I know Tyler and Veronica mentioned, a lot of sites will use on their tablet or their phone. You do also have the option to use any of these features on a computer as well. For CACFP, the first step would be loading in all of the different participants for that site. So this is an example of a site participant page. You can add the participants one by one by clicking on New Participant and completing a profile for them. And you can specify which items you want to track for each participant. And you also have the option to have sites bulk upload their participants in Excel as well. So if a site would rather fill the information in an Excel file, they can easily upload it directly into Link2Feed. Then when they start a meal service, they just click on the button for the meal service they're starting. So this is an example of a school year meal service at a site. If you allow the site to track the meals available from the previous day, so if they've carried any meals over, they can record that here. They can also indicate any meals that they've received, if the meals match the planned menu or not. Very soon, we will have our partnership integrating with HealthyPro. So if you're planning your menu in HealthyPro, you can actually display that menu in the Link2Feed meal service. You can indicate the temperature of any meals or milk received. I'm seeing a date field here because I'm the administrator, but all of your sites would be entering all of this information at point of service, so all in real time. You can preset for them when the meal service will end and the type of meals that they're allowed to serve. And then you also have the option to keep track of any particular meal styles. So that's often used by sponsors who do a mix of vended and shelf-stable meals, maybe some self-prep, family style. It's the sites with the sponsors with the mixed meal type sites that would use this. Then we load in your disclaimer and civil rights statement, and the individual is able to sign for the meal service. If they miss a signature or any other field, the system is going to give them a red error and make sure they get that information filled in. There's also lots of little pop-up reminders, just making sure that the math all makes sense. So you can see here, I've listed that I'm going to have 5 meals carried over, but in my previous meal service, I said I wasn't carrying over any meals. So the system's just prompting me to make sure that I'm filling this information in accurately. When we start up a meal service, we see the timer at the top of the screen and a tally of the total first and second meals that have been distributed. Down below is a listing of all of our different participants. So we can sort these columns to filter by name or age or grade. We can also search in the participant list. If you're serving after school at-risk sites that need attendance, you can have attendance turned on. So if we look at the legend above, gray means that the child has attended but not received any meals. So we'll tap once and we can see that amber here is in attendance. When a child receives a meal, you can tap again, which will change to green, indicating 1 meal. If you track seconds and thirds, you do also have the option to record seconds and thirds. If you do not track that, or you do not track any of the other fields that you've seen in the system, we just shut those off for you. So you would receive a dedicated account manager who would help you work through all of the different fields in the system and get things turned on or off based on how you manage the program. So you go through and provide the meals to the kids. If you add an additional meal in error, you can hit on this remove a meal button. Down below, there's the option to track any additional children requesting meals, any damaged meals, or any meals that they'd be carrying over. And they can also leave notes and comments for their sponsor as well. Once that timer we saw at the top runs out, the system will end the meal service for them, or if they finish serving their meals early, they can click on End Meal Service. When they do, they'll see a summary of their meal service here. It includes the details of all of the participants who were in attendance and had meals, sums it up down here, and then includes a copy of the electronic signature at the bottom. So this is the view mode for the meal service. They can also click on Export to download these details into an Excel file. So this is what Tyler was speaking of that is used for audits. You can typically just provide your state association with a copy of the electronic Excel files for their audit. On the sponsor side, you're able to see this information in that network meal service that we reviewed. And I wanted to show you that you can also filter the service. So you can filter by a particular program type or location, whether or not there were comments and a start and end date, and then filter. You can also download this into Excel. As the sponsor, you have the ability to edit or remove the meal services as well. And by clicking on the blue folder icon, you can go into that view mode that we saw earlier. For SFSP, for most locations, they're using a ticker box. So just like on the paper forms, we'd be doing the /through, and you can do that for SFSP. The startup of the meal service is exactly the same as we did for CACFP. It will require all of the fields to be filled in, and then you can take the electronic signature and start up the meal service. We get the timer again at the top. And then down here, we just have basic ticker buttons. You can press up as you record the meals, remove if you add one in error. If you do serve seconds and thirds, the system will make sure you have the appropriate amount, so you can't serve more seconds than firsts, and you can't serve more meals than you have available. There is also the option, if any of your sites do field trip meals in the summer, to track that. You can also keep track of program and non-program adults. And then same options we saw in school year with additional children requesting, damaged meals, and eligible carryover. Of course, if you don't track some of these features, that's absolutely okay. We can shut off anything that you don't use. The sites can give you comments, and then ending the meal service works the same as well. The system also has a full suite of reports built in. You just give your report a name. You can select if this is a report that you want to look at every week or every month. If so, you can set it up to automatically run for you on a recurring basis. So then you would only ever have to create that report one time. We'll just look at this one once only so we can see it today. Then you choose your date range. So I'll go January 1st to June 1st. Then you can indicate which sites you want to include in the report, which meal types you want to include, and which participant types you want to include. Then we create our report. It will run the report in an inbox for us and let us know when it's ready. And then this report really includes anything that we need for reimbursements, for claim, or to manage and work with vendors. So details like the number of students in attendance, the number of meals they served, how many unique children, so how many actual individual children received meals, average served per day, one-day highs, and then of course lots of items looking at different meal waste. The system also comes with full support materials built right in. So there is an online ticketing system. You can also submit tickets by phone or by email. There's a user manual that walks you through step by step with screenshots and text instructions. And then we also have a full suite of support videos as well. So lots of help if you need any additional training or your sites forget about anything. There's the option for them to look it up in the manual or look at some videos. So that is an overview of Link2Feed. I'm just going to unmute the group and we can go through any questions anyone has.